And we're live. Oh man, I'm gonna talk funny. If you guys missed it, the last live I did, I told you I got Invisalign, and I thought it was just like, you know, oh, you put these little retainers in, and it's not. There's like these things that they install on your teeth. So I legit feel like a teenager, like with braces right now, and have to take them out. I can't eat, like without going through this 10-minute process. It's crazy. So anyways, happy Sunday. How are you today?
I forgot to tell you, Mark Toddy from the store said he wants to share Invisalign stories with you. So.
Who's Mark Toddy?
The guy who helped you?
Oh.
The motor. Yeah, never mind.
I just don't remember his name. Oh, I do. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 4 people on. Good morning, you guys. How are you doing, Eddie?
I'm great. It's nice and early. I love the morning. So.
He does. I'm not necessarily like the best morning person. I just need some time to wake up. So tell us where you guys are from. Good morning, Christy. We're going to jump right in because we have a lot of information to cover today. We had about 30 people that RSVP'd and said they were going to jump on with us. And if it's Hawaii right now, it's 5 a.m. So that kind of sucks. But it's also 11 on East Coast time. So wherever you are, if you missed it, you can always go back and watch the replay of this. So let's dive in.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there were some really awesome and amazing questions, and I picked the ones, I kind of just started from the beginning, and then I want to run down. I think that because we're capable of talking, I wouldn't say we talk a lot and ramble, but a lot of these are things that require like multiple answers, and so they're going to take a few minutes. So I have like 6 questions, but don't be discouraged because it's going to be really great content. And then we want for you guys to kind of jump in and ask even further questions on these topics because so the rule was like, what 2 topics would you want to have a conversation with me on, and what 2 specific questions would you want to answer? The reason why is because I can't tell you, good morning, sweet tooth desserts. See, I can't talk. The reason why being very specific about your question is important is because it's super annoying when you're in any sort of like authoritative position and people come to you for like mentoring or advice, and that's such an honor. But it's super annoying when people send me a quick message and they're like, hey, can you tell me how to start a business? Oh God, it just makes me crazy. Like, do you know how long it took me to start my business and all of the information that I combed through and sifted through and like went crazy to find? It's taken years. So I'm not going to type that in an email response and send that back to you. So the reason why I want to have you guys ask very specific questions is so I can give you a very specific answer. So chime in if there's more information you want us to cover on that. Okay? Makes sense? Do we look really bright? Okay, it's bright.
I'm kind of dark.
So Siobhan LeVay from Hawaii said, how do you truly serve your community? And I think this is a really great question. Good morning, Cheryl. It's a really great question because when the Cake Mamas started, you guys know that my children named us. You know, they said, well, if you're going to be the mamas, our mamas, and you're going to make cakes, you should be the Cake Mamas. Well, at the time, they were in school, and so we chose to really give back to their school. It was in the middle of a recession, so not only was it something that sounded like a good idea to give back, it was the right thing to do. We were constantly getting letters from the school asking for reams of paper, to Post-its and Kleenex, and I mean, all these things, and I just used to think, how are the school districts even functioning right now if they're asking for all of these things they need to run a class? So we knew from the beginning that we wanted to give back to the community in a big way, and we started with schools. Do you want to talk a little bit about our grand opening? And do you remember we gave $2,500 away to the local school districts?
Yeah, and one of the things that was really cool is that it was part of a marketing push too. So it was not only was it a great way to start your business as far as giving back to the community, but it was also a way to get some buy-in and engagement at a really, really high level and an authentic level, because I think the teachers really came out and really supported the Cake Mamas first because of that. And so it was crazy that our grand opening. It was like a iPhone launch. I mean, we had a line down. We had down people working the line. You know, talking to people. Hey, it's going to be.
Yeah, that was your job.
Yeah, I was a line monitor. I was outside, So we had a lot of fun, but it was for a good cause, and kids were there. It was an exciting time.
So people were willing to be patient because they knew that by them supporting our small business on the very first day, we were going to give in a really big way, which again, we gave $2,500. So if you're not getting ready to grand open, then you might be thinking, well, how do I serve the community? So Siobhan's a little different because she actually owns a business, but I can tell you all of these things that I'm going to go over right now will help you whether you're at home or whether you are in an actual location. So get involved with schools. You know, most of you have kids. A lot of you that bake from home, you started from home because maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. Get involved in their schools. I'm not saying join the PTA and run for president because I just don't have time for that. But get involved. Find out who the PTA person is. They always have events coming up, you know, whether it's a dance or a little Valentine's Day thing that they do. I know they do like Daughters and Donuts and things like that. If there's some way for you to just get involved, tell people who you are, and then slide in like, by the way, I'm the local cake lady. Here's a business card if there's anything I can do to help. I mean, literally, the biggest advice I'm going to give you through this whole thing is you have to be your own advocate, and you have to really be good at networking and kind of selling yourself and interacting with people, because one rule that I live by is closed mouths don't get fed. And so you have to be the one that's advocating for whatever it is you're trying to sell, and talking to everyone you come in contact with is extremely important. So on your social media, to get involved with the schools, you could also do something, and you can go back and refer to the Cake Mamas, but this week we tried to do something for local teachers. They're underappreciated. So we said, you know, we want to give away 7 dozen cupcakes to the best teachers. Go in the comments below and nominate them. This is a really great thing for the community to say, wow, number one, they do care about teachers, which we do. We have tons of friends that are local teachers, and they are underappreciated, and so we wanted to do something good for them. So, you know, tons of comments. I think there were 50 comments or so talking about these teachers and how amazing they are, and we honestly had a terrible time, a really hard time choosing the winners because we wanted to give cupcakes to all of them. But that's one way to get involved in your kids' schools. Do you want to say something?
No, and I want to just say that I think that whether it's your kid's school or a local cause, I think is important. So I think if there's something in your neighborhood that's important to your community, to be a part of that, I think it's definitely the key.
You're right. So the next thing was Chamber of Commerce. I'll give them all to you. The City Council, local events in your community. So we could kind of blast through some of these. The Chamber of Commerce is in every city. Most local businesses join to, I mean, it's like a networking community of local businesses. I'll tell you, none of those people support my business because most of them are older. Chamber of Commerce is kind of an older thing. They don't see value in a $300 or $500 cake. But when I go to a local Chamber of Commerce meeting, I make it a point to add value. So whether I'm teaching them or offering advice on social media, I always bring cupcakes also with business cards, and I just tell them what we offer, and then I give them suggestions of how they can support us, because sometimes people will get intimidated and think like, oh, they make these over-the-top cakes, I can't afford these cakes because I'm a struggling business owner myself. And so I'll say, you know, we sell $3 and $4 cupcakes. If you have a staff member's birthday or it's your postman's birthday, come in, get a gift for them for under $5, and it really brings and puts a smile on someone's face. So I give them specific examples of how they can come in and support my business, and that works a lot. Yeah. Like every time I'm done with a networking meeting, someone will come in if I'm not there, and my staff will say, oh yeah, this guy said he met you this morning at this meeting and it was his secretary's birthday. Yeah. Score. It's a $5 sale, but if she loves it, she'll come back.
Yeah, and I think that work is important. I think I don't know if you have that on here, but one of the things that happened, not in necessarily the beginning, but near the beginning, was Girls Helping Girls.
Oh, yeah.
And so Girls Helping Girls was a charity event, but I think what people got an idea about was the Cake Mamas and their values around women, female empowerment, women entrepreneurship, because there was all female business owners that participated in Girls Helping Girls.
So that was years into it, and you may not be in a position to do that, but we hosted an event called Girls Helping Girls, and the reason for that is because my girls decided they wanted to be Girl Scouts. And so I don't know, a lot of you probably get asked to buy Girl Scout cookies, but can I tell you, I did some research on why they even have cookie sales, and it was to take these young kids and teach them entrepreneur skills. And I was like, wait, what? And the chairman of the local chapter said, yeah, they're supposed to learn how to manage inventory. They're supposed to learn how to market to their customers. They're supposed to learn speaking skills and, going outside of their comfort zone and publicly speaking and asking for the sales. And when I heard this, I thought, I've got to be somehow affiliated with the Girl Scouts, because people just like Thin Mints. They don't buy these cookies because these little girls are learning entrepreneurship skills. They're just buying them because they're good cookies. Yeah. So I got involved and we hosted a big event, and that's a whole nother story. But yes, finding something that you're passionate about in your community and being able to be a voice for that. You can do this from home too, you guys. A lot of you have the ability to get cottage licenses. And I tell you all the time, I didn't have that ability. It wasn't an option. So I had to get out of my house as quickly as possible because it was technically illegal. So city council is another thing. These sound really boring, but I'm telling you, you have to kind of be the one that's present in the city. City council, which would be the mayor, the council members. So on our very first grand opening day, I had dropped off some flyers prior to the grand opening. I had dropped off some flyers at the local city council. On the day of our grand opening, this woman comes in and she's with a police officer, and she stops, takes the time and says, I understand you're the owner. Yes, I am. She said, I am Karen Davis. I'm the mayor of Glendora, former mayor of Glendora. I'm the chaplain, the police chaplain. This is the chief of police. And right then we had an instant connection. We became such good friends that she patrons my business all the time. Patronizes?
Patrons is right.
Yeah. She comes to the business all the time. She buys lots of stuff for her staff, for people in the local business people that are celebrating birthdays. She takes them to the children's hospital if she knows someone's sick. I mean, she does a lot of really great things. If someone has a death, because she's a chaplain, she'll take cupcakes to the family. She has become such an amazing part of our lives that I asked her to be the pastor. She's also a pastor. I asked her to be the officiant? Mm-hmm. Yeah, why can I not speak? At my brother and sister's wedding. So she married my brother and sister. So I want you to understand the importance of these connections. So that's reaching out to people at the city hall. The last thing would be events. There's farmers markets, I'm sure, in all of your communities. We have car shows that they do in Glendora all the time. And what they do is they'll ask some of the local businesses, a lot of the local businesses, because they close off the streets. Everyone puts out a booth, tables and stuff. It's a really cool way for businesses to come out and share your business. The thing is they ask for a $300 donation. That's just to get you in on the street. And then you're able to sell. So what I have negotiated in the past is, I'll tell you what if I'm the only business that actually gives stuff for free? I don't want to make any money off of this. I will make 1,000 mini cupcakes and I'll go down there, but waive my $300 fee, and I'll just give stuff out. And it's worked for 2 years, and that's great. So figure out a way, if you're short on funds, to maybe barter with them. Obviously, that's probably not a good trade-off, but to know that when customers pass by or people in the community pass by and I say, hey, come on over, and they're like, no, it's okay. And I go, no, we're the only ones out here giving stuff away for free. We brought 1,000 free cupcakes. We just want you to know about our business and come and support our small family business. And people love it. Yeah. We do that all the time. So that's the answer to how to truly serve your community. I could go on and on, but I think you get the gist of it. Find something you're excited and passionate about, and then figure out a way to be out there. But it requires you to be speaking and talking and interacting and networking and really putting yourself out there, because it's not easy. Number 2, how do you stay in business and outlast your competitors? That's also from Siobhan. So I would say that you have to do it differently. The last few weeks I've been trying to inspire you guys to think differently. There are thousands of home bakers right now. There are hundreds of people that want to open a bakery right now. And the thing is if people had the money and it were actually easy, imagine how many bakeries there'd be on every corner in every city, because it's the new hip thing, right? Like back in the day, I think moms used to sew, and now it's like, oh, moms make cakes. So I'll tell you, in order to outlast your competitors, you have to have like a niche. You have to know who your specific target customer is and what things you're offering that are different. So do you want to talk about what you were saying, like when we first started, like what was different about us?
Yeah, I think that what was different was in this particular community, it was a place that did cakes and cupcakes, but you had a specific target of going after and doing fondant-based cakes. And so I think that for a lot of people at that particular time, it was something that was on TV, it was something that was really popular. But I think that the consistency and the continuous changing in flavors and improvement in artwork, I think helped keep you in business and keep it relevant. And I think outlast the trend of everyone being in the cupcake business with sprinkles and things of that nature. But I think that will always be the case in business, is people that could be extremely consistent and continue to push the envelope and innovate within their particular niche.
Right. And I'll tell you, like, saying that you are a cupcake bakery business and having cupcake business cards printed and handing them out and saying, oh, I'm the cupcake lady, that's not differentiated. Like, you have to do something different. So whether that means like you're Filipino and all of your treats are like ube flavored and like exotic flavors that people don't know about, you've got to turn them on to something, and that means you're going to work harder, but it's also going to be the reason why someone chooses you over the random cake lady that just puts American buttercream on a cupcake. Maybe your specialty is cupcakes, but you really love decorating. So maybe you're really good at decorating toppers that go on top of the cupcakes, and your whole Instagram and Facebook feed looks just like that. So you got to find out what things you can be really different at. For us at the time, it was, we're going to make really badass fondant cakes, and I'm not even going to touch buttercream. Like, I don't even want to learn about that. I'm going to dive in and learn everything I can about fondant. I want the cleanest, most perfect lines, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get to this level. And so I watched the YouTube videos, and I bought the tools and tried and tested everything. And I wanted to, when you come to me and you say, well, why would I do business with you? Well, look at my work. I mean, like, why would you not do business with me? There are tons of home bakers. You can go online, you can see their stuff, compare it to mine. And if you think that I'm the right fit for you, then let's do business. And that's how I did it. And so I want to give you some examples of people in the cake world that have taken it to a whole nother level. On Instagram, there's a company called White Flower Cake Shop. They have 328,000 followers, and all they do is focus on buttercream cakes, and they put buttercream flowers all over them. Like, their stuff is fantastic. It's amazing. I'm a fan. I don't do anything like that, so I think that it's really cool. You can pay attention to the questions if you want. But White Flower Cake Shop. You guys need to look them up. I'm going to give you 3 examples. If you could go to these pages on Instagram and just say, hey, I just discovered you, the Cake Mamas sent us. That helps me, have these good relationships with people so they know that I'm supporting their business. So do that on behalf of me. And also, it's good to feel like someone sent you. So it's just the right thing. If you go over there, don't just be a silent stalker. Interact with them, engage with them, tell them they're doing a great job. Their work's fantastic. That's their niche, and they've mastered it. So now they offer classes, and people want to know how they do what they do. That's great, but then you don't want 200,000 people making flowers just like they do. But guess what? They can't do it like White Flower can, which is why they're teaching. So go over, check them out. Another one I discovered, it was the beginning of this year. Susan, so her name's Suzanne, SUSANNE.Deco Chiffon, CHIFFON. So this woman makes chiffon cakes. Now, I grew up in an area where there were a lot of Hawaiians and Filipinos, and I am too. They make chiffon cakes at King's Hawaiian Bakery. And it's a type of cake. Remember a few weeks ago I told you, figure out what you're going to be good at, test your recipes, find something differentiated. Well, chiffon cakes are amazing. They're mostly made with egg whites. They're very squishy. They're so good. So this woman, Suzanne, She's in another country. I can't even remember what country, but she's a stay-at-home mom to 3. I was so impressed with her page that I sent her, she has 41,000 followers. I sent her a personal message on Instagram and I said, I just discovered you. Oh my God, you're amazing. I love chiffon cakes. How did you master this? Like, why are you not a really freaking like famous big deal? So she responds back. I gave her all these compliments and she says, oh my God, thank you. I kind of stroked her ego a little just because I was so impressed. And she says, actually, I'm a stay-at-home mom of 3. I started making cakes for my kids. I wanted them to be different and over the top. And then some random publisher reached out to her and asked her if he could help her write a cookbook. And here now she's a published cookbook author 3 times in. Wow. Is that amazing? So she's got these opportunities coming to her because it's a differentiated factor.
Yeah.
That's how you outlast your competition. And then lastly, this is one of my new good friends. Her name is on Instagram, Alicia's Delicias. She is a Mexican girl who focuses all on like Latino stuff. She only does like pan dulce. These are all sugar cookies that are decorated. She does the elote, like anything Mexican you can think of, the Mexican dresses. Frida, what's her name? Carl, you know.
Yeah, Frida.
Eyebrow girl, Frida. She has 36,000 followers. All she does is pop-up shops. So she has managed to network with other artists in the Latin community and reach out to them and say like, hey, I'd like to come and do a pop-up shop. So she'll make, let's say, I don't know, 50 or 100 cookies, package them really nicely, has a cute display. And I want to say the cookies sell for like $8 to $10 each. So she sells out all the time. She's become a really big deal because she has a niche and she's not like, oh, I just make every cookie for everyone. No, this is one specific thing that she focuses on. So the question was, staying in business and outlasting your competitors, find something that will differentiate you from everyone else. That's how you outlast them.
So, and I'm going to give you another perspective, what I witnessed and observed. And I would say the number one thing besides all those things, 1A, would be your perseverance and your resiliency.
Oh yeah, you can't tell me no.
And so I think the big thing is that can you outlast the struggle? Can you outlast the hard times? Can you outlast the times where you're not necessarily making the money that you want to make, or maybe you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your team, or you're going to be able to pay your lease, or whatever it is. Can you outlast that? Because what ends up happening is once you break through that, then things start to clear up a little bit, and then you start to get to a point where you can start feeling the abundance of your business or your fruits of your labor. But I think the one thing I saw was your ability to be resilient and to have perseverance through all the hard times and the good times, and understand that if you stay clear on where you want to go as far as your goal of the business, then you can get there and you'll outlast your competition. So that's something I would just say add to it.
That's a good one. Good job. Yeah. I've said before, you got to know what race you're running. So if you're here in this game for a sprint, you're going to fail. I'm going to be really real with you. If you're like, I want to get as many followers as I can, I want to make as much money as I can as quickly as possible. Remember the Mario Brothers analogy we gave you? Like, you're trying to start playing the game at level 1 and you're just like, you know what? I'm going to warp to level 7. You're going to be setting yourself up for so much failure. Like, you need to build the resilience. You need to be told no. You need to struggle a couple of months without customers, because that's when you develop these survival skills to go out and actually get the customers. And say, okay, they're not going to come into my business. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find them. Why? Because I have 13 employees who are on my payroll that support their family and they depend on me. So I have to be the one that perseveres and goes out and makes it happen by any means necessary. So if you're in this run, in this race again for a sprint, I'm going to wish you luck, and maybe you'll be that special unicorn that makes it work. But this is more of like a marathon. Like, you've got to know, like, I'm not in it tomorrow to crush all the other bakeries. I'm in it to outlast them. I'm going to outrun them. I'm going to be here for the longest until I decide that something else sparks my interest and maybe my passions have changed, and then I'll go in a different direction. That won't mean that I lost. That means that I'll take all of the things that I've learned over the years that I was able to be in business, and that's a privilege, and then I'll apply all of that knowledge towards the next chapter of my life. But I can't get to the next chapter of my life if I sacrifice and like pass and warp all of this stuff here. So I'm telling you again, this is a marathon race, and I'm looking for marathon runners, not sprinters. So Jones Bree, she said, okay, I understand what you're saying. Something about texting me. Just ask me here, because if it's something that can benefit everyone else, then do it here on the live. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, so really quick, go back. White Flower Cake Shop, Suzanne Deco Chiffon, and Alicia's Delicias. Tell them the Cake Mama sent you, okay? Number 3, how do you build an online presence in the cake community? So I'll tell you, let's see, how should I say this? I think you guys think I have an online presence in the cake community, but it was never something I set out to do. I didn't really say like, who's in the cake community and how can I get them to notice me? I wanted customers. So I didn't ever play that game, and honestly, I still don't, and it's something I kind of struggle with because you got to stay relevant, you got to be kind of somewhat in that cake world, but honestly, I don't. Like, and here's why. A lot of people, there's a lot of cake shows that you could go to. I go to take a class and to learn, and that's it. I don't go to like network, socialize, make other bakery friends, and you know my personality, I love making friends, but I don't go to be in with the cool kids, because a lot of the cool kids in the cake community, they don't do what I do. So they're not managing a bakery with several employees. They're not coming up with, you know, or being committed to sales because they have all these obligations and money that they have to generate in order to be a sustainable business. They're just people in the cake world that travel across the country and go compete in these cake shows. I have no desire to do that. So when you ask me about my presence in the cake community, I will tell you it's never been something that I've ever focused on. I go to these conventions and I'm surprised that people know who I am. I tell him all the time, you know, this girl like knew who I was, and I think that that's cool and I appreciate it, but I've never focused on that. It's not something I care about. And that's it. So what do you have to say? How do you build an online presence in the cake community? I will tell you lastly, stay in your lane. If your objective is to make money and to create long-lasting customer relationships that they will bring referrals and it will equate to more money and more sales. And I'm not like money hungry, but I have responsibilities. Like, I'm in business to stay in business, to run the marathon. So I have to generate money. So I have to apply my efforts and my energy towards the things that are going to bring me more sales, which means I'm out in the community, I'm talking to people. I don't need to be out in the cake community making cake friends. I don't. There are certain people I reach out to and we'll talk about best practices and we'll encourage. Like, I love that, but I don't need to be known. That's not something I care about. And so I would encourage you to take the same stance. A lot of you are struggling with how to book up your calendar, you know, how to get more customers. Let's talk and focus on those things and not worry about your online presence. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I think that this is an interesting question because I think it works in all industries and in pretty much every facet of life. I think when you're chasing something that may be a little bit of a superficial thing, like I'm looking for popularity, what ends up happening is that popularity continues to fleet you because of the fact that you'll never necessarily be satisfied with the amount of people that you have following you or what you feel like your impact is in a particular industry. And I think you see this everywhere. The people that are extremely consistent and continue to do great quality will automatically get popularity and have an impact. So I think you focused on the work, you focused on the quality of what you were creating, and that popularity and all those things that come along with doing something great automatically happen. And
so I wrote that in my notes. I said, it's not, you know, people stop me and they know me now at these things. It's not because of who I know. It's because of my work. Mm-hmm. It's because of what I've created, what I put out there. I'm putting positive energy out there. I'm encouraging other people to follow their dreams. That's why they stop me. They don't stop me because I play this game and I'm constantly on social media. They stop me because I think they like what I put out. So I would really just challenge you. What are you putting out? Remember, we keep talking about like your ideal client. I'm trying to attract customers that love me and want to do business with my small family business. I don't really care if you're a caker in Nigeria and you like my work and you follow. I love you and I'm glad that you're here, but I really want to attract more people that are local that can actually come and support my business. And so I've identified in the last, year, wow, there are a lot of like cake people that follow. And I don't know, I think you follow for inspiration. You guys can let me know what you follow for. I'm honored that you're here, but I really, my business has always been focused on my customer. And so I'll tell you, start there, and all the fame and notoriety will come when it's time, not a minute before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. Next question. Let's see. Oh, we talk a lot about like the target customer, and I just want to be real with you. I didn't have like an ideal client. Like I didn't have it like really segmented down to what I have it to now when I first opened. I knew that this community was saturated with young children. There are tons of schools. And I thought in the middle of the recession, when everyone told us you can't start a business, like in the middle of this recession, this is the worst recession our generation has ever seen. I stayed true to my belief, and that was, well, regardless of whether you're in a recession or not, you're still going to celebrate your kid's birthday. And so my ideal client at the time was anyone with kids. And I figured over the years that it's a woman. I know her age. Like I've talked to you guys about Nicole, my secret target customer. And so we've developed over time. You guys have an advantage because I'm starting you off with this in mind. And so a lot of you have posted like, oh my God, this customer sent me this message saying, I feel like you're speaking directly to me. That's because you are. So that's a really awesome advantage. I want you guys to really like identify and make it happen. The target customer thing's a big deal. Let's see. Let's touch on this one.
Yeah.
2 things that you would have done differently when you started your business. Okay.
Just 2.
Well, because I asked them to keep it
No,
to 2.
just...
Yeah. So I have more than 2. Let me see what time it is. So it's 30 minutes in. So the number one thing, you guys know I started off in a partnership with my husband's baby mama. That's in a separate video. You know that she left after 2 years. So the number one thing that I would have done differently is I would have had all of those difficult and challenging and uncomfortable conversations. I know. I would have had all of those conversations ahead of time, and we would have hired an attorney to draw up a partnership agreement that had very clear expectations of what you're going to bring to the table, what I'm going to bring to the table, what commitments, what financially you're going to bring, what financially I'm going to bring. And then we're going to talk about worst case scenario. If you want to leave and I don't want to leave, what happens? Do you buy me out? Do I buy you out? Who pays who? How much money do you walk away? That would be the number one thing. If you guys are entertaining working with a partner, I know you love each other right now. I know you're BFFs, or it's your mom or your sister, but business is hard. And doing business with your husband's ex is even harder. And I loved her, and we loved our kids, and we were family. And, although the dynamics were great, I probably have that biggest regret that I wish that I would have. And I knew that I needed to have those conversations, but I'll be honest, like she was very sensitive about and uncomfortable anytime I brought things like that up. So I just said, she would never really hurt me. Like it would never result in anything negative. So I made the decision to go against what, my insides were telling me to have these conversations, and I didn't. So that's my biggest learning. To any of you with partners, you have to look into that, and you need to have those difficult conversations. Number 2, would have started with more money in the bank. So a lot of you are in the same situation where you're very undercapitalized from home. One of Bree's questions was like, what were the main steps that you took to go from home to bakery? And here's what I've told you 100 times. Get really dialed in on your profits. Get really dialed in on your expenses. Figure out what the money looks like, and then start Googling things like, how much does it cost to get a license? How much does it cost to build a bakery? How much does it cost for commercial equipment? Because in your business plan, if you're trying to go from here to here, and you don't have $150,000 or $200,000, and you plan on trying to get a loan, you will need a business plan. But in life, you should have a business plan. So if you're trying to go from here to here, and you don't know the steps to go here, and you don't know how much it's going to cost to get here, then you're kind of just running around aimlessly. So you have to have a plan. And I will tell you that although I knew, like, okay, I think payroll is going to be this, I think my expenses are going to be this, I would have probably stayed home, maybe if that required 6 months more, to be able to put 2 months worth of entire bakery expenses in the bank. Because out of the gates, we were struggling with money. I mean, we had scraped up every penny possible to make this grand opening happen. And I'll tell you what, 7 days before we grand opened, I was crunching the numbers and I was like, okay, we're going to give away $2,500. I want to sell 2,500 cupcakes. Here's the list of how much inventory I need to make those. And that number like almost put us out of business. Like, so I had put flyers all over the community and I didn't even know how I was going to buy the freaking flour, sugar, butter to make the damn 2,500 cupcakes. So that was one. And then 7 days prior, do you remember I had a full-blown breakdown, you guys? Because I was like, what are they going to put these cupcakes in? Right? I was like, I need boxes. Like, I was legit panicking. Okay, how do I get boxes? So I locate this supplier. I mean, that was like a entire half a day Google search to find local box distributors, right? Cupcake boxes. Do you want plastic ones? Will they fit? Like, I got to measure the cupcakes. Like, I had to really think about this. So my first box order was $2,500 and I didn't have $2,500. So I'm like, we're already out of business before we even grand open. What am I going to do? Give these people their like cupcakes in a Ziploc baggie? I can't even afford Ziploc baggies. So, I mean, it was like a disaster. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Like, we did not have that. Okay, so I needed $2,500 to buy boxes because the custom boxes were $10,000. I didn't have any of that. So my dad, who did, they didn't have a lot of money. My parents are hardworking parents. They still work. And I didn't ask them for a penny because if they had it, they probably would have offered. So I'm like crying to my dad. And he goes, let me call you back tomorrow morning and see if there's anything I can do. And I was like, Dad, don't you have like an aunt or somebody? Like, how am I going to give these customers? He winds up coming back and telling me that he got a $5,000 line of credit and that he was going to transfer the money to the business and that I needed to go buy my boxes, and he wished me the best of luck. And so, of course, I was sobbing and I was so thankful. I placed the order for the boxes, but let me tell you, an extra $2,500 to run a business didn't get me anywhere. Like, it doesn't even pay for a week's worth of like inventory, boxes, employee expenses. Like $2,500 is like nothing, but it was more than I had. So what's the point? The point is,
well, I think the point is one, I think
save the money,
but I think having a very detailed plan and then anticipating the worst. I think we talk about that now, like, okay, anticipate that this may happen, and if this happens, what would be plan A, plan B to making sure that you survive it,
right,
or you get through it. But I think that,
because you don't want to let a box order like put you out of business. Like, that's just stupid, right?
Yeah.
But we were running so quickly, and we were just like, I knew what to do, but it just like everything had happened, and so I was like, I have to make it work. But my biggest advice to you would be, don't rush and save the money, because there will be a time where you legitimately think you're going out of business, and then you'll be crying on the floor, praying to God, and you'll be remembering me telling you, girl, you should take your time because it's going to happen. But, if it doesn't, you'll be resilient, and what's the worst that can happen? You fail. So what? You learn from it. It's awesome. Okay.
And then I would say you did a really good job cashing in on favors. We had so many friends and family in the bakery.
Oh,
on the day of grand opening
day.
People that were not qualified
at all
to be making cupcakes.
Oh my God.
So I mean, at there one point, the peanut butter flavored cupcake had like 2 different flavors for that day.
Right. This is a funny story, you guys. So we had one of our really good friends, Eddie's friend, Chris Hart. Now this guy's like an athlete, like he has no business making cupcakes, right? So he comes down, him and his wife, she's helping with customer service. And I was like, Chris, make some peanut butter frosting. I don't know who put him on this, but I find out Chris Hart made the peanut butter frosting. I mean, you just follow the recipe, right? But Chris Hart made this frosting that when you piped it out, it literally was like flaky. I don't even know.
What did you do?
I don't even know how to troubleshoot it, like to fix it. But there were so many people in line, we had to kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
To this day, you guys, like I felt uncomfortable selling it to every single person. And I'd be like, here you go. They're never coming back again. Like I felt, but there was nothing I could do, right? So to this day, one of my friends, Rhonda, she comes in 7 years later and she goes, I don't know when you're going to bring back that peanut butter frosting. It was like flaky. It was so good. When are you going to remake that? I'm like, if you only knew, I have no clue what he put in that.
Yeah, it was like, he was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
he was making it go
terrible.
out. And everybody's just keep going. Just keep going. So
that's a funny story.
Yeah, that's good.
And number 3, so I said, the question was, what would you do differently? Number 1, partnership agreement, have the tough conversations. Number 2, have more money as a reserve. And number 3, do whatever is required for you to go in business 100% legitimately. I mean, like I have family members that have been in business forever. One of my uncles who's very successful in the car business had a donut shop when he was like in his early 30s. And he said, donut shops and bakeries, they're mostly like cash businesses. You need to take some of that cash out so that way you're not reporting so much on your taxes. And I was like shoplift from myself? Like, I don't really get it. And so he's like, yeah, you want to make it look like you're taking less cash than you are. And it just didn't sit well with me. And, this guy's he's a mentor of my life. And so, but there was something about it. I was like, I don't think I want to do that because here's why. Having the retail experience that we have, your employees watch and emulate everything you do. Could you imagine if I had 6 employees that worked the cash register that saw me walk over and just pocket money? Or they were closing the register at night and it was like less than what they remember taking in? I don't want to do that. I don't want to send the message it's okay for you to start swiping money. I don't want to send the message that it's okay for a customer to come in and although they may only be buying a $4 cupcake, I'm just going to pocket those $4. Second reason is because when you go to a bank and you're trying to get approved, they want to know how much business you're generating. And I wanted every dollar of that to be counted so I could brag about that and be like, oh yeah, we did $300,000 in our first year of business. I want a loan for $100,000, right? So it's kind of like, I would never recommend that. And I would say be as legitimate as possible. So 1, with your cash handling, 2, with your taxes, and most importantly,
there's a line.
And it's not even in right now.
Oh.
It's just like terrible. Most importantly, pay your employees through a system. So you can just contact Wells Fargo, Chase, whoever you bank with, and you can say, hey, how do I get in contact with someone to help me set up a payroll account? And so what they'll do is they'll talk to you about like, hey, this is what workers' comp costs. This is what insurance costs. This is what this costs. This is how much it's going to cost for each employee. If your employees make $10 an hour, let's say, it's really about $14 an hour as the employer that you pay. So when you're budgeting, make sure you cushion that because it's quite a bit. So kind of side note really quick, I had this employee, I won't tell you her name, but my very first cake decorator that I hired, she was really sweet. I loved her work and we hired her. So she sits me down and she says, hey, I'm really excited for this opportunity. You're offering me, I think it was at the time $8.50 because minimum wage was like $7.75. So I offered her $8.50. I didn't even know how I was going to pay that. And she asked me, I'm on government assistance. I have a young son. I'm driving all the way from here. Gas is going to be expensive. Can you pay me under the table so I don't have to pay taxes? Well, okay, so here's the thing. I really wanted her. I really liked her. And it sounded like I was going to be doing her a favor. And so I went against what, I believed to do, and I did it. And so here's the thing. She worked for me for a year. It was a constant problem. She always wanted more money. I think I gave her like 2 increases of like a quarter or 50 cents or something. And I'm a new struggling business owner. I don't have money to be giving people raises. Well, so the last time I said, you know what, I really like you and I really appreciate you and your work, but I can't afford it. I just can't. I'd be setting myself up for failure. So if you need to go, then it's up to you. So she did. So she turns in her notice. I mean, this girl was like around my kids. Like, they loved her, they hugged her. We're like a family in our bakery. We throw her a party when she's going away, and then no less than 24 hours later, she launches a website. It's an online bakery, and now she's posting every single photo of every single cake that she made in my business. Well, okay, that's not, like, it doesn't work like that. It's proprietary information. So, Eddie works for Apple. If I'm an engineer that makes $500,000 and works for Apple, and I have just created the new iPhone 10 or 8, let's say the 10, and I leave and I go now say, since I made the iPhone, I'm going to start a blog and start my own company, and I'm going to write about how I'm the inventor of the iPhone 10. You can't do that. Like, they employed you for those ideas, right? It's proprietary information. You can't talk about that, and it's not your information to like share. So I had to take legal action. That was my first taste of like being ripped off and robbed and wronged as a business owner for someone that I was bending over backwards. Then she kind of winds up hitting me with, well, something about like if I go to, what is it?
Small claims.
Not small claims, where you can report an employer for like wages and stuff.
Yeah.
What is it? Employee
labor union.
The labor union. Labor. What is it? You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, you can go as an employee to report your employer for wrongdoing, right? So she's threatening now that she's going to go and report me. Well, it's a good thing I had all of her schedules. I had every minute that I had ever paid her for. But the point is I helped her evade taxes, and so that makes me liable. So I will tell you, I'm sharing all of this open-heartedly. Like, these are struggles. Like, I cried about this. I lost sleep about this. I thought I was going to get sued and lose my business. And this is all because I trusted someone and went against the proper way to do business. So don't do anybody any favors. You run a legitimate business. That's my third bit of advice. 100% legitimate in everything that you do.
There you go.
Labor board. Thank you, Christy. Jesus, we're like slow today.
I knew it was labor. I just
sure
didn't
you
know it was
did.
board.
Okay, so question number, like this is like 5-ish. Did you invest in time and resources to become an expert in the area you're known for? So I think, what do you think about that question?
I think we talked about that before. I think you already came into this business with a backing in business, and I think that you stayed in that lane for the most part.
Yes.
I think that you grew to be a good decorator. You grew to understand the chemistry of baking, but you continue to focus directly on being a CEO, being the owner of this business, providing the vision and the clarity for the future, and then also be that person that would call bull when you needed to call bull.
Bullshit. You can say it.
Oh, this is Sunday.
Explicit.
No. But you also were able to, when you taste something you didn't like, I don't like that. This is what needed to be changed. So you knew enough to make a difference in areas of the business that mattered a lot. And then you knew enough about the business world to say, this is where we need to go. And this is the decisions we need to make in order to survive and to be successful.
Agreed. Okay, so again, the question is, did you invest in time and resources to become an expert? So here's where my brain goes first is, one, I'm not an expert. That's what I tell myself. I think we all could talk ourselves out of that. But I do think that, yes, being in the game this long makes me somewhat of an expert because I'm able to talk and teach about this subject. But I don't like brag and boast and like, oh my God, I know everything, because you guys know I'm a student of life. And so I'll tell you, when I first started the business and anything that I do in life, I'm kind of obsessed about. Like, I want to know everything about it. Like, who are the experts in this industry? What are they known for? And so that's where I started first. Like, I didn't set out to be an expert. I was a newbie beginner. So I was like, who are the experts? Who are the people getting recognized for their work? And remember, I told you in a previous video, I found Pink Cake Box. Pink Cake Box is in Jersey. It was a bakery. It wasn't a show, but I felt that she was doing work just as good, if not better, than the Cake Boss or Ace of Cakes and all of that stuff. And so I wanted to grow to that level. So I saw that, wow, these are the cakes that they put out. I'm not going to copy them, but how do I get my lines that clean? How do I, test different fondants to see how to which one's going to work best for me? Well, guess what? I researched, and it turns out that Ann Heap, the owner of Pink Cake Box, was also an affiliate for Satin Ice Fondant. Guess what? I started using Satin Ice Fondant. I figured if she can do that, then I can do that too. I just have to really get my skill level up to that. But obviously, if her fondant looks clean like this is the fondant I got to use. I did that with tools. I did that with everything. But I really focused on being an expert in the business side of things. So I went to women's conferences on how to be a female entrepreneur. And I did that because I went to join the Chamber of Commerce and they were all guys. And I was like, what the hell? Like, am I the only one? And these people would never buy a pretty cake from me because they're like, oh, she's some young, pretty cake decorator who's selling her stuff for a ridiculous amount. That's not my target client, so I need to figure out, like, am I the only one? So I started attending business conferences, not really even for cake, but the very first cake conference I went to, I took classes. I wanted to know, how do you perfect your buttercream? I can't remember what that lady's name was, but she showed me one trick. I mean, I sat through this hour-long thing, and I was like, I don't know if I'm really learning anything. I don't know if I want to use paper towels on my cakes. I don't know. Like, I didn't like any of it. And then one thing she did that I still do today, and I'll have to show you, like, when I'm final coating my cakes, which I can do in my sleep now. She showed me one thing, and I don't remember her name to give her credit, but she said, well, it's not going to make sense, but she said, bulldoze over your frosting. Don't take it away. Be a bulldozer and push it to the center, and it changed my life. And so now I can frost a cake perfectly. So I didn't come off as like, I want to be the expert. I came off as, who are the experts? Let me identify them. What can I learn from them? And how can I make it mine? That would be the answer to that question. Okay, next question. How do you ensure you stay in business when bakers around you are charging way less? Well, what do you have to say about that?
Oh, wow. I think you have to make a superior product.
Yes.
I think that you have to, we talked about this before, it's not just the physical product that you're making that has to be unbelievable, which it should, but it's everything around it.
The
right?
marketing, what you're putting on social media, what your business cards look like.
Everything.
We've talked and hammered this in your guys' brains forever.
Your ability to sell it to people, your ability to bring
confidence.
Passion, and yeah, those things all play a part in that. And then I think that understanding that those people that are undercutting the prices of the work that they're doing, they're not your competition.
Nope.
They're aiming for a different customer, and you got to focus on your customer, your avatar, yep. Right? And make sure that you are appealing to that person, and you're consistent, and you'll beat them out.
So my number one answer I wrote down is, I just simply accept that I am not for everyone. Period. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday I'm working customer service. You read that and then we'll go back, okay? So yesterday I'm working customer service in the bakery. This woman comes in, she's got her baby, she's got her son, the sister-in-law. They want to order this Hello Kitty cake. It's got all of these sculpted Hello Kitties in different outfits with the Caro Karopi and all this stuff. It's a rainbow cake. There's colors everywhere. It's a pretty cake, but I could have made it better. So she says, I want to get a quote on this. And I said, okay, how many people do you want to serve? When's the date? Yes, we were available. She said she wanted to serve 50. Right off the bat, I said, well, most weddings are about 100, and a wedding cake's pretty expensive. And this is a little bit more complicated because I counted the colors. There were 13 different colors in this rainbow cake. So that's a lot of mixing of different colors and fondant. And then what you don't factor in is the waste of all of those colors you made now if you're not going to use them on another cake. So I'm kind of doing the math in my head, thinking how hard it is to ombre, rainbow, all these different colors. And it's not so much that the cake was complicated, it was just a lot of work. And so I already want to set did you have a budget? Maybe like 100. I said, oh, here's the thing. Our cakes start at $100, but I'll give you a couple of options for this cake, but it's definitely going to be between the $300 and $400 range. And she kind of freaked out, and I said, and here's the other thing, because I want to be really clear with you. We don't copy anyone's work. So you printed this picture. I don't know where it came from. I can't make this cake exactly the same, but I already have some really cool ideas. Let me show you what I would do differently. And at first she was kind of like, wait, why do you have to change it? And I said, well, here's the thing. We're artists and we really respect the art aspect of cake decorating. So when we make something, we want you to have something unique that came from the cake mamas that you paid for an artist to create. And so I don't want to create something, one that someone else has already celebrated with and already created. That's kind of boring. So if you're uncomfortable letting us kind of remix it a little, then we may not be the bakery for you. So you just need to kind of let me know how to proceed. And I slid the paper back to her and I kind of put it on her. Like, we're going to either do it our way, which is going to be better. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I'm glad you asked. And so then I get a pen and I said, do you mind if I write on this paper? So I start kind of marking it up and I give her my ideas, which obviously were better than the cake that she showed me. So she liked it. She's like, okay, well, how much? And I said, now let's talk about all of these characters. Do you want to do toys, which, you know, I don't necessarily love, but all of these characters alone, they're going to be about $200. And here's why. It's going to take probably 8 hours, if not more, to make all of these characters. And so you know what minimum wage is. We got into that. I said, if you want to save $200 off the bat, then don't do all these characters. Let's maybe narrow it down to 2. So long story short, we wind up getting her to the $450 range because that's what she wanted. And then she also added on $65 for delivery. So it was over a $500 sale. But that was something I was very clear about. Like, hey, you may not be for us. We really want to be a part of this celebration. And I think this cake is cute, but we can take it to a whole nother level. Let us celebrate with you. By the time they left, not only did they pay more than they expected, like 3 times more than they expected, but they were so excited because of the enthusiasm that I translated or transferred to them. And so, you know, again, not every customer is for us. Not every customer is going to be for you. And some of you are so afraid to lose that you're willing to kind of bend over backwards. So how do I outlast the people that, you know, charge less? They're just not my customers. If you're looking for bargain basement prices, you should go to Sarah down the street that makes cakes from home. That's not what I do. And I think our work speaks for itself. Some of you may not be at that level talent-wise. It's okay. Just keep going and keep learning and keep getting better and keep perfecting your craft, and you'll get there too. Anything else?
No, I think you covered it. I think what I also too is when you talk about presenting to your customers a sense of an impression of value, seek feedback from people that may not be in that industry to see, you know, what their thoughts are on your social media page. I mean, people that business sense or have, you can tell that they have a high standard of what things should look like to them, what appeals to them. I think that would help out a lot. I think, you know, Janelle has a really good vision of what things should look like in her head. I mean, I think when the shop opened up, people thought it was a franchise because of how it was presented. And, you know, we didn't have a lot of money.
And I kicked and screamed. Like, so I had Eddie and Fabiola, my partner, telling me, we don't need to spend money on that. We don't need. So I went out, I took money out of my personal account and I bought like a $1,000 camera. I didn't have the money really for that. But what I was seeing was that the companies I wanted to be like, they were putting really great photography out. And so I was like, we can't be taking phones with like a crappy camera or an iPhone. We didn't even have iPhones then. No. A cell phone, just because it's convenient for you to put it on Facebook like that, it doesn't look good. So I bought the camera. I took some online classes on how to freaking work the camera, which I'm not a photographer. I don't want to do all that. But if I want to play in that game and I want to be compared to someone in that level, it has to look like that. So I also bought the camera to take good photos, not only for social media, but for our brochures. So when we grand opened our bakery, the brochures we handed out looked like they were part of a franchise. Yeah. And every single customer was like, wow, you guys, this is your first day? How do you have a portfolio like this? Well, we've been making cakes from home for an entire year, and it looks like we invested in good photography. We invested in a nice looking brochure. We invested in someone that could create a logo for us. That stuff is so important, you guys. That sets you apart from the people who are nickel and diming people from home. Okay, so Bree said about my customer service thing, that doing it face-to-face is different than doing it over the phone. Don't tell me that. You can still do it over the phone. Initially, you guys were starting with emails and just going back and forth with text, and I told you not to do that, to set up a time where you can call them. You can speak to them like just like we're speaking right now. You just wouldn't see the video, right? You would still understand if this were a podcast and you couldn't see us exactly what we're trying to say. So use your words to convey everything. We do this in the bakery all day long, Brie. Every single customer doesn't come in. We get tons of email inquiries. And if it's something we feel that requires the conversation because it's a little bit more like expensive or an in-depth cake design, we pick up the phone, and we do this all the time. So don't tell yourself and convince yourself that that's true, because it's not. You just have to be more confident. And I can tell you, the more reps you get in, the more confident you'll feel, and then it will be a breeze. So this time next year, you're going to be such a pro at commanding a higher rate and explaining the value, not being long-winded about it, but just being very to the point about it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because I was in the industry for a long time that a lot of the business was over the phone.
Oh, tell them.
Yeah,
the fitness industry.
Yeah, so in the fitness industry, you're calling a lot of people that have visited your gym or whatever it is, and your ability to convey a message or to have it something that people are attracted to over the phone. There's a lot of skills that you could build, whether it be smiling because people can hear a smile,
yes.
right? Whether it be just practicing different scripts that you can use for people over the phone. That is something you have to work with, and you have to try to master, because there are deals that are being done over the phone all across this nation
for millions of dollars.
I mean, you pretty much bought a website over the phone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Remember I told you I was shopping for a website? Eddie thinks I'm bananas, but I got a website quote. First initial quote was, I think, $2,500. I freaked out about that. Then it turns out they couldn't do what I wanted them to do, so they gave me a referral. Next referral, $6,500. I told you about her. She didn't even like bat an eyelash. She was like, oh, this is our rate. So I looked at her work and I was like, dang, she's kind of good though. I think I'm going to spend it. We set up a consultation, which the consultation was only 20 minutes. And I thought, well, that doesn't make me feel like I feel rushed, right? And so I decided to not go with her, because she actually said she wasn't capable of making the stuff happen that I wanted to happen on the website either. So she referred me. So that was $6,200. She refers me to this company, you guys. They send me a quote for $15,000. What? Like, I mean, people pay for this? So the way that he explained it, he's like, let's set up a conference call. I'm going to block off from 8 to 9 o'clock. Okay, well, I feel better. That's an hour. If you're going to take $15,000 of money I don't have, then I need to at least feel like, like you're valuing me as a potential client. So we get on the call. This guy goes on and on about like, why they're the best fit. He's like, I looked at some of the emails you had sent to the previous people, and he just really did an amazing job of making me feel comfortable, making me feel like he was confident, making me feel like he had all the answers. And I just came out and said, here's the thing, I make cakes, and I don't want to make a website. I don't want to know like how to tell you. Like, I'm looking for a company that can give me creative vision and tell me how to attract more clients. And he said, you're not just spending $15,000 on a website, Janelle. You're investing $15,000 to be able to make more money online. And I was like, what kind of money are we talking about? And so he actually took it a whole nother step and peeled back the layers and was like, if you started selling this online, this would equate to this annually. If you started doing this online. And I was like, oh my God, $15,000, although it sounds like a lot, really will open kind of the floodgates for me in the future. And so it's a good investment. So I tell Eddie, I think I'm going to spend $15,000 on this website. Well, guess what? They sent the final quote. It was $15,800. And Eddie was like having a panic attack. And I'm like, hold on. So I gave him the whole stuff, the whole presentation that he gave me. How did you feel after?
I feel like, okay.
There's value in it, right? Yeah. This guy's offering to do something that 6 or 7 other website designers couldn't build. So then my brother finds out, who's like a genius, finds out from my dad that I'm going to invest $15,000. Again, I don't have this money. Like, I have to take a loan out for this, but it's something that's a good investment, right? So my brother freaks out, sis, that's crazy. And I'm like, wait. Let me tell you what I'm trying to do. And he goes, oh, that like requires engineers. Like, I'm surprised they're not charging you $35,000 to do that. Like, that would be like 6 engineers. You need that. So then it turns out it's actually a deal.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm in the middle of that, but I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be doing this in person. This guy took $15,000, well, so far only $8,000 from me over the phone. I've never met this person, like, ever. So this has been email conversations, phone conversations. You too can do this. You just have to practice and get really good at it.
Yeah, and I used to have my counselors who would call over the phone, practice over and over and over and over around how to handle objections. You know,
How
always
to overcome objections.
Yeah, how to overcome them. You know, and here's the key thing: if you're over the phone, number one way to overcome an objection is with a question.
So give me an example.
So, hey, you know, we could talk about gym stuff, right?
Yeah,
so we
let's
can say, so were you interested in getting started with working out here at the gym?
No.
Wow. Okay. So one of the things that you talked about was getting in shape. Has it changed for you?
I still want to be in shape.
You still want to be in shape. So what things are you doing right now to get to that goal?
So he's trying to get me to continue with the conversation. Well, I'm not really doing anything. That's why my friend dragged me to the gym the other day, and that's how you got my number. And now you're calling me, and it's annoying.
I know we're taking some of your time, but I just want to help you out because I know that this is important to you in working out. And so going down that and asking another question, and before you know it, they have walked themselves back into, yeah, I think I want to come by again because you're right. And
I do need to get it together.
And then as soon as they say that, yeah, I want to do this, all of a sudden I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that coming to the gym is so important.
Yeah.
Or getting in shape.
But they
or
have
dedicated.
to arrive at it on their own.
Right, and then you have to just agree with them. So if you have a customer over the phone and you're talking to them about a particular cake quote and they say, oh my God, that's a lot of money. You go say, I understand it's a terrific investment, but tell me more about this celebration. How important is this to you? You know, what would you like to do, you know, with the celebration around photos and things like that?
Right.
You know, all those things work out, and it's over the phone that makes a difference.
Yes. So I think we're going to stop there because that's an hour. We have like a few people that have held on to everything. Please go back in the comments and let us know if this was helpful, what specific things you learned the most from, what was your biggest aha moment of this video. Obviously, it takes us a lot of our personal time. We're already dressed and ready to go to church right now, but this is something that's important to me. I'm not able to mentor people on a personal, private level just because, you know, the life that I live and the business that I run, and I don't have a lot of time, but this is a way for us to give back and for me to serve you guys. And I love just supporting people that are willing to put in the work and kind of be like the next up and coming best thing. And if I can help you kind of overcome some of the challenges that I've had, then it's my pleasure to share that with you. And Eddie just is along for the ride because he does what I tell him to do sometimes. So happy Sunday, you guys. Let us know what we can, well, we have 15 other questions to answer, and so we will get through those. And I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to take all of those questions and kind of answer them in the next few videos that we do. So we'll look at his schedule and then we'll make another invite for you guys to join us on the next video. But have a great Sunday, and we love you, and peace, and
Peace out.
yeah, bye.
Bye.